Hey, it's Stargirl the Practical Witch. Welcome to another one of my pick a card readings. Today we're going to figure out who your past life soulmate was and how your relationship in that life affects you in this life. So as usual, I need you to pick one of the 6 groups. This is group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5, group 6. If you need to pause the video to take more time to figure out which card is calling to you, feel free to do so. Once you've picked a card, you can fast forward to the timestamp I provide down below to see what your results are. Alright, let's get started. Group number 1. Who was your past life soulmate? What happened and how does it impact you in this life? So we have 5 of Cups, 7 of Wands, the High Priestess, Gratitude, Stay, and the Camel Boy. So these 2 cards right here are pretty much just what happened in your past life. So with the 5 of Cups, this tells me this was a very emotionally unfulfilling relationship. So this was your greatest love in your most recent past life. And unfortunately, it wasn't emotionally fulfilling. In fact, it was rather disappointing. And then with the 7 of Wands, this sort of tells me this person had a lot of barriers up, a lot of walls up, a lot of issues, and you were the one nurturing their issues. Meanwhile, you were neglected, your needs weren't being met. It was all about them. And from the great sorrow and conflict I'm feeling from the 5 of Cups and 7 of Wands, it's really clear to me that you had a lot of feeling for this person, you had a lot of love for this person, because you have to if you stay when your needs are being completely ignored while you meet all of their needs. It looks like your soulmate in your past life was someone with a lot of issues who built up a lot of baggage, a lot of walls, and even though they may not have meant to hurt you, it hurt you a lot because these issues were let out into your relationship and you were responsible for taking care of them, walking on eggshells, and it just wasn't good for you. It was emotionally unfulfilling, but you loved them enough to stay around. This almost makes me believe that you were a fixer in your past life, so you thought you could fix this person, you thought you could be the one to make it okay, but later on through your relationship you realized you couldn't. They were, it was up to them. So that's really sad about your past life. And a lot of the time people from our past life will show up again in our current lives because we tend to be drawn to people we're familiar with or have shared a past life with. And with the High Priestess, this tells me that, I'm getting different messages here because it is a general reading, but it really is telling me that either this in this life could have turned you to be really cold, unemotional, and kind of push away from people because you're scared of getting hurt, or this person can come up in your current life as someone who is emotionally unavailable and distant but teases you with bits of emotion and bits of, they almost open up a little bit and then close right back up. So a lot of the time people we get involved with, like I said, in this life are from our past life. And it almost seems to me that you'll recognize this person, this great love from your past life, by the way they're so distant yet seem to hover over you. So even though they don't want to open up to you or be close to you or have anything like solid or practical with you, they'll hover over you and they will be magnetic to you. You'll feel very drawn into them and you won't know why. This person will give off an air of mystery. You'll almost have the same reflexes you did in your last life where you want to try to fix this person, you want to know more about this person, but this person really isn't giving you anything. They're just alluring you with their the thing that they are. And it's really unfortunate about this person because I really think your last past life love came from a really large place of hurt. It was probably their past life baggage that was let out onto you, and it will feel like they're really drawn to you too, but they won't do anything to solidify the relationship or stay or make it something real. They'll be very in and out, and then you won't understand then why are you still hanging around me. So if you know someone like that where you're drawn to them, they're drawn to you, but they don't really give you anything of substance, that is probably the reincarnation, or I don't know the word for it, but that is probably your past life love and this love coming to find you again, and that's why you have that weird magnetic psychic pull to each other. But on their part, there's some distance. Now, in this life, because we carry problems with us from our past life into our current lives all the time. So because of this impactful relationship in your past life, you might be someone who has abandonment issues. You might cling on to people who don't want to stay. You might be attracted to emotionally distant people. But at the same time, because you weren't used to getting your needs met in your past life, any sign of love or any sign of care, you soak it up. You soak it up so much because you're grateful for it, since you barely ever got that in your past life. So, you know, someone can do the littlest thing that doesn't even mean it, I mean, it doesn't even have to be that thoughtful. It could be the littlest thing, and you'll soak it up and be appreciative of it because in your past life none of your needs were met. And like I said with stay, I'm seeing you might cling on to people that aren't worth clinging on to, or cling to people who are not worthy of you because of this past emotional abandonment you're going through. And then you might have issues in this life speaking up about your needs and what you want. So you might be, you know, in your past life you're too busy catering to your past love's needs, but in this life you may be trying to speak your needs more in a relationship, but it might be really, really hard for you because you're not used to it. And that's what I'm getting from the camel voice. Small steps, asking for help. You're used to being the nurturer, the one who took care of everything. You're not used to people caring and taking care of your needs. And it's a weird concept. So, you know, it's good to get over this past life baggage and realize you do deserve someone who takes care of your needs. You do not have to be the only one taking care of the other person's needs. Relationships are one-sided. Expect more for yourself. It's awesome that you're grateful over any little sign of affection you can get. That's great. But at the same time, realize you deserve more and try to stay away from past life patterns and stay away from people who are emotionally distant and lure you in but aren't giving you anything of real substance, whereas you're the one always chasing and fixing. It's good to get out of that pattern. So let's move on from that. Group number 2, let's see who your past life soulmate was, what your relationship was like, and how it impacts you in this life. So we have the Four of Pentacles, we have the Ten of Pentacles, the King of Swords, Uncertainty, Love Yourself, and the Lady of Lightnings. Surprises, sometimes shock, total paradigm shift. So these two cards right here are your relationship and your past life. So I'm almost seeing from the Four of Pentacles, which is about a money-making move. In love reading, it's about the relationship mainly being about money. And Ten of Pentacles, which is signing a money agreement. This tells me in your past life you really didn't have a real great love. You were committed to one person that you likely had an arranged marriage to, and you had to for financial gain, or maybe you just married them for financial gain. It wasn't a love relationship of real love. It was for getting ahead, politics, merging of families, something that was more to do with a business transaction. So in this life, because like I said in the other group, a lot of the time people from our past life will show up in our present life. We tend to attract the same people, and this person might come into your life as someone who's very cold, domineering, almost gives off an air of being your boss. And it doesn't have to come in terms of a romantic relationship, because this is a new life and new circumstances, but they might re-show in your life as someone who's very hard to deal with, or hard to get close to emotionally, someone who's very logical, someone who's very cold, someone who wants to domineer over you and tell you what to do, someone who you can't have an emotional connection to. Or, because this is a general reading, what this could mean is in this life you tend to be attracted to people who are more of a father figure, or more who are older, who are less emotional, because that's what you're used to in your past life. And a lot of the time when we don't do past life work, we tend to be drawn to the same. We tend to be drawn to the familiarity. So a lot of the time in this life, in these relationships, you might have trouble really being yourself in a relationship, or in general, you might have a tendency to submit to somebody else or follow along what somebody else says. And that's because in your past life, you didn't really have time to develop yourself. You didn't really have time to find yourself or what you want. So if you're not working on those issues, you might have a tendency to get lost in a relationship and just go along with whatever the person you want says. That you tend to go for controlling, assertive, cold people, if that makes sense. And in this life, you might be really uncertain about yourself, and we have love yourself. So that really just shows to me you don't know how to pick love for yourself, or know what you want, or know who you are, just because in regards to love, because this was an arranged marriage or some kind of marriage agreement. So in this life, I see that you're really supposed to learn to grow into yourself, learn to love yourself, find yourself. And this life might seem like we have Lady of the Lightning, surprises, sometimes shock, total paradigm shift. So this is a total paradigm shift for you in this life, because you're supposed to learn new lessons in every life. And in this life, you really need to grow into yourself. So it might be hard, shocking. It might be you're always unsure of yourself, questioning what you want. Everything is just really new in this life. And I just see a lot of uncertainty about who you are and what you want. So in this life, try to avoid relationships until you find yourself, until you find what you want. Because in your past life, you know, you were told what you wanted. You were told what to do. You didn't have time to find yourself. And if you try to settle down before you find yourself and who you specifically are as a person in a relationship, you could end up falling victim in this life to someone who's very domineering, cold, and not ultimately what you really want in a relationship. All right, I hope that helped you out. Let's move on to group number 3. Let's see who your past life soulmate is, and got a hair. What happened with that, how it impacts you in this life. So we have Judgment, the Four of Wands, Star, Love Tree, Acceptance, and the Rainbow Prince, Compensation, Perseverance. So in your past life, I can see that your great love was very traditional. You had a traditional sort of marriage. You had a traditional sort of household. This is the type of marriage where, like an olden day marriage, man, woman likes each other, they get married, they have kids. And I almost see from Judgment, it was in a very biblical sense. So these two cards right here are supposed to represent your past life relationship and what it was. Judgment has to do with religion. It normally has to do with tradition. Four of Wands is like in a traditional tarot, a man and a woman on a country setting. So it's really just like a traditional farm under the church relationship. And I think it was just very, I don't want to say boring, but as a Sagittarius, everything is boring to me when it comes to this kind of life. But this was a very humble, peaceful love life you had. You had many children. That's what I'm seeing from the love tree. And I think that this love, that was an easy life for you in regards to love. So now I don't see you holding any past life scars to do with love. I actually see you being very accepting of love, open to love, because you had such a good experience in your past life. You might carry that same traditional values onto this life. You might be really confident in yourself, acceptance. If you see that picture, she seems really confident, accepted. There's really no, like the other ones we went over, there's really no past life scar I'm seeing. And then we have the Rainbow Prince, compensation, perseverance. So I feel like you're someone who's really reliable and practical in love, because that's what these relationships were back then. They were reliable, they were practical, mutual respect. And I feel like now, because of that deep friendship, because I'm seeing like in these kind of traditional marriages, you probably grew to have a really deep friendship with this person. So now it's really important for you to have a solid friendship with the person you're with in this life in order to entertain a relationship. And then we have the star. So this is really like, a lot of the times people in our past life will come back in this life. They'll follow us almost. And, you know, I'm getting a few different messages because this is a general reading. But this almost makes me feel like the other person decided not to reincarnate and they're just watching over you like a star in the sky. And I'm almost seeing that it's likely in this life one of your children will reincarnate into this life and you'll have another life with your children. That's really what I'm getting from Spirit right now. I don't feel like they decided to reincarnate. I think they're watching over you in a different place. This could also mean, though, that this love you had, because this is a general reading, this love you had could come back in this life. Because like I said, people from your past life will generally reoccur in your current life. But if they didn't pass on, I'm almost seeing with a star that this will show up as someone who is your friend, someone who is just around you at all times, someone who will support you and be there for you, not necessarily as a romantic love interest, but almost as a casual friend who seems to brighten up your day whenever they're around, because the star is a little emotionally distant. So I almost feel like they won't be a close friend, they won't be a romantic love interest, but they'll be that casual friend, that casual acquaintance that pops into your life every so often and just makes you feel really good. All right, I hope this helped you out, but we're gonna move on now. Group number 4, let's see who your past life soulmate was, what your relationship was like, and how it impacts you in this life. So we have the 5 of Pentacles, we have the Devil, we have Strength, we have Goddess, we have Allow Love, and the Ice Queen, Ideas Preserved, Non-Action, Entitlement. So unfortunately, if you got this group, what I'm seeing from the Devil and the 5 of Pentacles is in your past life, you were likely in a very abusive relationship. That was your ultimate love in your past life, which is totally a bummer. But, you know, with the Devil, it almost makes me feel like this was more about sex or more about being used, or you guys led a destructive lifestyle. And with 5 of Pentacles, that's not feeling good enough. It's always feeling like you have to prove your worth. So I must feel like you were in an abusive relationship that really diminished your worth, that really made you bitter in love, that really wrecked your world. I'm just getting in your past life, you were very much a victim in life. And I think this really carries on. I'm not going to go too much into the gruesome details because you can use your imagination on what an abusive relationship is, and that was your past life. And I feel like this really wrecked you. You're kind of carrying some past life baggage from it, because a lot of the time past life hurt carries into our present life and impacts us greatly. So I'm almost seeing like because of that abuse, you carried it on with you a little to this life. So you might be the Ice Queen, okay? Non-action, like entitlement, like you're almost like cold. You have a hard time allowing love. You want to be independent. When I think of Goddess, I think of independence. Don't need anybody. I feel like this made you stronger as a person, because, you know, it really instilled in your soul you need to depend on yourself. You can't depend on anyone else. But it's also blocked you off and made your heart kind of ice. Now the Strength card, because a lot of the times, like I was saying with the other groups, a lot of the time people from your past life you'll run into them in your current life. It's like you keep attracting them. So I'm almost seeing that this person might have some serious guilt from what they did to you in your past life. So they reincarnated in this life as the complete opposite, Strength, which is represented by a Jesus-like character taming a lion right next to the Devil. So in their past life, they were the Devil. In this life, they are Strength. So they might try to come into your life as a love interest or any kind of relationship, someone who tries to almost seems to go out of their way for you. They almost seem to go out of their way to be there for you. And this person, when you're around them, you might feel at dis-ease, and you don't know why. They haven't done anything, but you just don't like them. There's something in you that's like, go away. So how you can recognize this past life soulmate in this life is by that uneasy feeling you have around them. Even though they haven't done anything, they might try to overly to be with you. They might try overly to protect you, and you're just like, stop, go away. But this is a general reading, so for you, they might not try to return to your life. But with this 8 symbol, I'm almost seeing this is a karmic relationship you had in your past life, and that was the biggest love relationship you had, was karmic. So if you didn't fix some of these past life scars, fix some of these self-worth issues, or if you're hanging on to that baggage, it's very likely you're re-attracting this person, because karmic relationships are attracted to you based on your energy. So if you haven't fixed some of these self-worth issues, it's very likely you could re-attract them. However, the Strength card could also mean from this, you grew as a soul, you learned what you were supposed to learn from this person, you moved on and you became more powerful, you became better with the Strength and Goddess, but there's a part of you that's really hard for you to open up to love, which I know it's hard, but you should get over that as well, because if you don't get over that, you ultimately are attracting the thing you don't want. So it's very important to heal all these things, because a lot of the times these emotional issues, these baggage we have, are past life scars. They're past life scars. So it's very good to address these things, really do some work on this side of yourself you like to hide. Alright, group number 5. Let's see who your past life soulmate was, what happened, and how it impacts you in this life. So we have the Knight of Cups, the 2 of Cups, the 8 of Cups, Explore, Radiate Love, the Ringmaster of Scrutiny, Discernment, Clear Vision, and Details. So in your past life, your soulmate was someone who was very romantic. They were likely your perfect divine match, what I'm getting from the 2 of Cups, because this is a soulmate card. They completed you, I mean not completed you, but they were the perfect person for you. Their soul complemented your soul on purpose. This is a once in a many lifetime type of love you've had in your past life. It was filled with romance, understanding, but at the same time, it was grounded in reality. You two were best friends. You took care of each other. You both were emotionally fulfilled. This was what they write in old novels, old romance novels about. So how this impacts you in this life is you might have a ache in your heart or a yearning in your heart for someone who you haven't met. And with this, the Ringmaster of Scrutiny, Discernment, you might be very picky about the people you go out with in this life. No one seems to measure up for you in this life. No one seems to be good enough for you in this life. And the reason for that is because in your past life, you had the perfect person. You had the right person for you. They were everything your soul has ever wanted, and you finally met them in your last life, and the only thing that separated you was death. And when you reincarnated in this life, no one measures up. If it's not that person, you don't want them. So you might find yourself in this life being picky. You might find yourself being alone a lot. And that's what I'm getting from Explore and 8 of Cups. As you see, they have the same images, a man walking away alone. So I almost feel like this is a general reading, so excuse me if I get multiple messages, but I almost feel like if you're one of those people who are meant to meet your past life love again in this life, it won't be until later in age. And I think the reason for that is because in this life, both of you need to grow more separately before you meet up again. So it might be way later in life until you're reunited with your past life love. That's sort of the feeling I'm getting. Or since this is a general reading, if you're not meant to meet up with your past life love anymore, I almost feel like you'll spend most of your life being a lone wolf, exploring the world, exploring yourself. And I'm seeing, because of the number 9, because angels like to communicate with numerology, not just the tarot cards, because of the number 9 and 8, that this will likely be your last incarnation And after this, you will meet up with your past life love again and finally be reunited. The one for you, twin flame, whatever you want to call it, that was the person in your past life. So either you guys meet up again in old age, or if they didn't decide to reincarnate into this life, you'll probably spend most of your life exploring, learning everything else there is left about the world. And because of number 9 on this card, then afterwards you will go and meet with them wherever they are. However, since this is a general reading, one more, it could be that it's just, you could meet this person a little bit younger. However, I think you were meant to feel that yearning and explore a little without them at first. So, all right. Let's move on. Group number 6. Let's see who your past life soulmate was, what happened, and how it impacts you in this life. So you have the 4 of Swords, the Page of Wands, 3 of Swords, You Are Loved, Dreamweaver, the Eagle King, the Big Picture, Angelic Help. So if you pick this card, or this group, I'm sorry to say, in your past life, your greatest love, your greatest soulmate in your past life was a young love. So with the Page of Wands, what I'm seeing is you were very young when you two fell in love and met. I'm almost seeing childhood sweetheart, probably knew each other your whole lives, grew up and had plans to get married, or it was just very, or it could have been like a really passionate, fiery, young romance that never had a chance to blossom into anything more, kind of like Romeo and Juliet. And the reason why I'm saying that is because with the 4 of Swords, that's like death. So something happened to end your young relationship to the point where it never matured. The Page of Wands is young. They're not the Knight of Wands, they're not the King of Wands, they're the Page. So in the midst of your blooming, passionate, young romance, before it had a chance to fizzle out, before it had a chance to move on, something happened where your relationship has ended. And since this is a general reading, I am getting multiple messages. So this could mean this person has passed on. So in your past life, when they passed away in the midst of your blossoming romance, they didn't decide to reincarnate into this life. However, and you're left here on this life alone. So with You Are Loved and the Angel and the Eagle King, the Big Picture, Angelic Help, this almost makes me believe your past life love who passed away before it even had a chance to become anything real is now watching you as one of your guardian angels in this life. And from the Dreamweaver, I'm almost seeing that they might like to visit you in dreams. You might get glimpses of this person in your dreams. You might feel like, oh, which also reminds me, if you got this, you should probably keep a dream journal and really try to remember your dreams, because this generally means your angels are trying to speak to you or show you something in your dreams. So I highly suggest you write down every dream you remember so you can really look at the symbolism in your dreams, because like I say, angels like to communicate with numbers, tarot, symbols, and dreams are a way for angels to communicate in symbolism. So write down your dreams and after a while analyze, look up the symbols, what they mean, and you'll likely get a clear message from your spirit guides. So that's one of them. Your spirit guide is your young love. And in your past life, I'm sensing you never got over this because it didn't have a chance to develop, because it was in the midst of your passion. You never in your past life loved anyone the same. You never gave your heart away the same. That was it when they died. And now in this life, they're watching over you. They are helping you. They're looking after you. This could also mean, since this is a general reading with the Page of Wands, that also, 3 of Swords could also speak of having a chip on your shoulder. So you might be a heartbreaker. You might not really invest in love. You might break other people's hearts because you're carrying around that past life hurt, that past life baggage that's stabbing you in the heart and you don't know why. And in turn, you might hurt other people. The other message I'm getting is, you know, in the midst of your passionate love, in the midst of your young love, something separated you two. Something made it so you couldn't be together, or maybe they broke your heart. So now in this life, you're carrying over that bitterness. So pretty much the same message as the first part. Sorry, I'm always like scanning to see if I'm getting any new messages while I'm doing this, but that's all I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed this pick a card reading. Thank you so much for watching it, and I will see you all later. Bye.